They said it was just business. No warning, no explanation. One moment I was plating the night's special, the next I was out the door. What they didn't expect was that I wasn't the only one walking away. There's a kind of rhythm in a kitchen most people never see. It's not just the clang of pans or the sizzle of garlic hitting hot oil. It's the way a dozen people move like one, chopping, stirring, plating without a single wasted word. That rhythm, that was my music. I was the head chef. Every evening I tied my apron like it was armor. The moment I stepped onto the line, I wasn't just cooking, I was leading. I knew who was hungover, who was heartbroken, who hadn't eaten all day, and I adjusted the tempo to keep the kitchen alive. My team, they weren't just staff, they were family. There was Eli, my sous chef, sharp as a blade but soft with the younger cooks. May, the pastry wizard who hummed jazz while torching creme brulee. Louis, who moved faster than anyone on the line but always had time to flash a grin. Each one of them meant something to me. I'd trained most of them from scratch, watched them grow from nervous prep cooks to warriors of the flame. The restaurant itself wasn't glamorous. Tiled floors, grease-stained walls, and a temperamental stove that needed sweet talking before it would light. But we made magic there, real, honest food that people came back for. Night after night, we gave our blood and bones to that place, chasing perfection with every dish. Still, there were signs, meetings I wasn't invited to, inventory cuts that made no sense. A new operations guy with a clipboard and a permanent frown. I told myself it was nothing, just corporate nonsense I didn't need to worry about. My focus was the kitchen, always the kitchen. That night, like every other, I was in the zone, finishing a braised short rib with truffle mash when I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned. It was Paul, the general manager. "Got a minute?" he said. His voice was flat, too flat. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment everything started to unravel. Paul led me through the back hallway, past crates of produce and the low hum of the freezer. He didn't look at me, just kept walking like this was routine. But my stomach twisted. I'd walked this hall 100 times, but tonight the walls felt narrower, like they were closing in. We stopped outside the small office at the end, the one with the broken fan that made a clicking sound every 5 seconds. Inside sat Marissa, the regional director. She rarely came in unless something big was happening. She gave me a tight smile. Her eyes didn't match it. "Take a seat, Dylan," she said. I stayed standing. Paul cleared his throat. "Let's keep this short." Marissa folded her hands. "We've decided to move in a new direction with kitchen leadership. Effective immediately, your position as head chef is being terminated." I blinked. "What?" "We appreciate your years of service," she said quickly. "But we need someone who aligns better with corporate goals, efficiency, cost control, brand consistency." Words, empty, cold words. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My heart was pounding. I wasn't just being let go, I was being erased. No warning, no explanation beyond some rehearsed nonsense. I stepped back. Is this about the staff, the budget changes? What the hell is going on? Paul avoided my eyes. Marissa didn't flinch. "We can't discuss internal decisions. We'll offer a modest severance pending your signature on the exit paperwork." They wanted me gone, quietly, cleanly. I left without signing anything. Walking through the kitchen again, everything felt surreal. The smells, the heat, the noise, it all faded. My team was still in motion, working through dinner service. Eli glanced up at me, confused. I shook my head, not trusting my voice. I didn't want to disrupt the flow, not yet, not in front of customers. So I walked out through the back door into the night air that suddenly felt colder than it should have. But even as I left, I knew this wasn't the end of it. I could feel something boiling beneath the surface. The kitchen doesn't just lose its fire and stay quiet. I sat in my car for an hour, staring at the steering wheel. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, not from anger, at least not yet, from disbelief, confusion. I kept replaying their words in my head like a broken tape. A new direction, cost control, effective immediately. I'd given that kitchen everything. Missed birthdays, holidays, even my own father's funeral because we were short-staffed during a Saturday rush. I had always told myself it was worth it. That building something with heart meant sacrifices. But now, standing outside of it all, it felt like I'd been a fool. The next morning, I woke up before the sun out of habit. I almost put on my whites before I remembered there was no kitchen to go to, no staff waiting on my call, just silence. By noon, I was pacing. I needed to see them, my crew. I couldn't leave them in the dark, wondering where I went. so I walked back into the restaurant. The host at the front blinked when she saw me. I think they said you're not supposed to be." "I'm not here to cause trouble," I said calmly. "Just need 5 minutes." I slipped through the dining room and into the kitchen. The noise stopped the second I stepped in. Knives paused mid-chop. Pans froze above burners. Eli looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Chef," he said. I nodded slowly. "They fired me." Gasps, someone cursed under their breath. May dropped her spatula. "No warning?" Lewis asked, stepping forward. "None," I said. "Apparently I do aligned anymore." I could see it, the tension building in their faces. Anger, disbelief, betrayal, not just for me, for the way it was done. Quiet, behind closed doors, like I was disposable. Eli clenched his fists. "They think they can just replace you like a broken blender." I shrugged. "Doesn't matter what they think, it's done." But I was wrong. It wasn't done. Because even as I turned to leave, I heard the sound that would stay with me for the rest of my life. The sound of knives being laid down. One by one. It started with Eli. He stepped back from the line and placed his chef's knife gently on the cutting board. The edge glinted under the overhead light. "If you're out," he said quietly, "so am I." There was a beat of silence, then May followed, then Lewis. Within moments the kitchen turned into a storm of voices. "You can't be serious," muttered one of the new hires. "You think we're staying after what they did to him?" May snapped, ripping off her apron. "This place runs because of Dylan," Lewis said, "not because of the suits upstairs." My heart was pounding again, but not from fear this time. I held up my hands. "Guys, slow down. I didn't come here to start a mutiny." But it was already too late. The energy had shifted. It wasn't chaos, it was clarity. The kind that only comes when people have finally had enough. "You didn't start anything," Eli said. "They did." "You built this place," May added. "We just held the line. If they think they can toss you aside and will keep smiling, they don't know who we are." Part of me wanted to stop them, tell them to calm down, that they had bills to pay, families. But the truth was, I felt it too. That raw, gut-deep ache of injustice. And seeing it reflected in their eyes made it real in a way that nothing else could. Paul burst through the door not long after, red-faced and panicked. "What the hell is going on in here?" Eli turned to him. "You fired the soul of this kitchen. We're just turning off the lights." "You all walk out now, you'll never work in this town again," Paul barked. "Then we'll start something better," I said, stepping forward. My voice was steady now, stronger than I expected. "Something that actually means something." The staff looked at me, not for permission but for conviction, and in that moment I gave it to them. One by one, they untied their aprons, left them on the counter, and walked out the back door. Together. And I followed, with the sound of sizzling pans and corporate panic fading behind me. We stood outside the back door of the restaurant, the night air thick with the scent of garlic and tension. No one said a word at first. We just stood there, side by side, surrounded by plastic crates, oil-stained asphalt, and the hum of a city that didn't know something remarkable had just happened. Eli finally broke the silence. "Well, I guess we just quit." A nervous laugh slipped from May. "No, Eli, we walked out. There's a difference." I looked at them all, 12 of us. Some seasoned veterans, others barely out of culinary school. But every one of them had made the same choice, on instinct, on principle, for me. Or maybe not just for me, for something we believed in together. "You guys didn't have to do that," I said, my voice low. Lewis shook his head. "Yeah, we did. You showed up for us every single day, taught us, protected us, never took credit when you could have. That kitchen was alive because of you." Eli added, and they tried to rip that out like it didn't matter, but it did, to all of us. I didn't know what to say. I'd spent years trying to build a team that worked like a family. I never expected that family to prove it like this. Still, reality crept in around the edges. Rent, bills, careers that might have just been torched in one emotional blaze. "What are you all going to do now?" I asked. Eli shrugged. "Figure it out, but we'll figure it out together." May nudged me. "What about you, chef?" I looked down at my hands, burned, scarred, tired. But something inside me stirred, a tiny flicker of possibility. I didn't have a plan, not even close, but I wasn't alone. "We're not done," I said slowly. "We're just between chapters." And as ridiculous as it sounded, I think they believed me. Hell, I think I believed me too. We walked away that night, no jobs, no guarantees. Just the clothes on our backs and the bond of something deeper than titles or paychecks. It wasn't the end. It was the start of something none of us could yet name. 3 days passed like a fog. I didn't cook. I barely slept. I sat in my apartment, scrolling through job listings I couldn't bring myself to apply for. My phone buzzed constantly, texts from the team, news updates, a couple missed calls from Paul, which I ignored. I wasn't angry anymore. I was hollow. When you spend years pouring yourself into something, every dish, every shift, every person, and it's taken away like it never mattered, it leaves a hole, not just in your schedule, in your soul. On the fourth morning, Eli showed up at my door with coffee and a grocery bag. "Get up," he said. "I'm fine," I muttered, clearly lying. "You haven't left your place. May says you haven't even posted a single food pic. That's not you." I tried to smile, but it felt stiff. "What do you want me to do, Eli? Open a taco stand?" He dropped the grocery bag on my counter. "Actually, yeah, or a soup cart or anything, because sitting here like a ghost isn't it." I stared at the bag. Tomatoes, basil, garlic, good ingredients, real ones. "Just cook something," he said. "Doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be perfect, just cook." Later that day I did, not because I believed in anything yet, but because muscle memory is a powerful thing. I sliced. I sautéed, I stirred. The smells filled the silence like music. The next day, May stopped by with lemon tarts. The day after that, Louis brought fresh tortillas. It was like they were all orbiting me, refusing to let me drift too far from the thing we all loved. Meanwhile, the restaurant was unraveling. Rumors were flying, bad reviews, cold food, angry customers. Someone sent me a video of a nearly empty dining room during peak hours. It should have felt satisfying, but it didn't. It just felt sad. That place used to breathe. Now it was a shell. And maybe, just maybe, there was still time to build something new, something better. The fire hadn't gone out. It had just changed kitchens. It started small. A folding table on the sidewalk outside my building, a borrowed camping stove, and a handwritten sign that read, "Lunch by Dylan, pay what you can." I didn't advertise it, I didn't even post about it, I just cooked. The first day I made tomato basil soup with garlic croutons. Nothing fancy, just warm, honest food. I ladled it into paper bowls while the city moved past me like I was invisible. But I wasn't invisible for long. A construction worker from the site across the street stopped first, then an old woman walking her dog. By the end of the second hour, I'd served 19 people. Some left cash, some didn't. I didn't care. The next day, Eli showed up with a second stove. May brought cookies. Louis handled setup. Before I knew it, the whole team was back in motion, on the sidewalk, under the open sky, with no clock to punch and no manager breathing down our necks. We called it the Fire Line, not a restaurant, not yet, just a space where food meant something again. And people came. Every day more and more, nurses on break, teachers, parents with kids. Word spread fast, not because of marketing, but because people could taste that it was real. One night after we packed up, I sat on the curb spooning leftover curry from a container. The sky was soft with stars and the street was quiet. I realized something. I didn't miss the title. I didn't miss the white coat or the stainless steel counters. What I missed was this, the connection, the reason I fell in love with cooking in the first place. It wasn't about impressing critics or climbing some culinary ladder. It was about feeding people, sharing something made with care, and doing it beside the people who made me believe in it again. The silence of those empty days had started to fill, with spices, stories, laughter, and purpose. The restaurant fired me, but this felt like freedom. 2 weeks into our sidewalk setup, we couldn't keep up. We were running out of soup by noon, cookies by 1, and we had a waiting line that stretched down the block some days. People didn't just come to eat, they came to talk, to thank us, to feel something. A man in a suit told us the soup reminded him of his grandmother. A college kid brought his whole study group the next day. One woman came just to sit near the smells, said it made her feel less lonely. We weren't making much money. Most days we just broke even. But somehow that didn't matter. The energy was different, it was real. Still, we knew we couldn't do this forever. Winter was coming and sidewalk stoves wouldn't stand a chance in the snow. We needed something more, something rooted. I didn't want another job in someone else's kitchen. I'd done that. I'd built something beautiful only to have it taken from me. This time, if we were going to rebuild, it had to be ours. Louis found the space first, an old laundromat with cracked tiles and boarded-up windows on a quiet corner. The rent was low, probably because no one had touched the place in years. Most people would have passed it by without a second thought. But I saw the bones. I stood in the middle of that dusty, silent space and could already hear the clatter of pans, the hiss of the burners, the low hum of conversation. I could feel it, like muscle memory waiting to come alive. "We'd have to gut it," Eli said, kicking a dented washing machine. "We'd have to believe in it," I replied. The team looked at me, hesitant but hopeful. We didn't have much money, no investors, no safety net. But we had something stronger, trust in each other, and a reason to fight for something that couldn't be taken away this time. That night, we signed the lease with our pooled savings and a prayer. No name on the sign yet, no menu written. But we were ready. This time, we weren't just cooking. We were building home. The first thing we did was rip everything out. The broken dryers, the stained floor tiles, even the rusted pipes. We worked late into the night with borrowed tools, sweat-soaked shirts, and blistered hands. Eli took the lead on plumbing. Turns out, his uncle used to be a contractor. May handled the color palette and menu board sketches. Louis found a second-hand 6-burner stove online and bargained the guy down like a pro. Every day we were tired, every night we were proud. We named it the Fire Line, after what we had built on that sidewalk, after the heat we'd survived, after the invisible line we crossed the day we walked out together. Opening day wasn't glamorous. No ribbon cutting, no social media campaign. Just us, some chalkboard signs, and the smell of garlic and slow-braised pork filling the air. And people came. They came like they remembered. Some were from the sidewalk days. Others had heard whispers. A few were old customers from the restaurant, shocked but smiling. The first order we rang up was a grilled eggplant sandwich with chili aioli. I made it myself, hands shaking just a little. When I handed it across the counter, the man took a bite and closed his eyes. "This," he said, "tastes like someone gave a damn." That was all I needed to hear. We fell into rhythm fast. The kitchen was smaller, the tools older, but we were sharper now, more alive. The line moved with laughter, trust, and muscle memory. We didn't need to talk much, we just knew. I caught myself smiling during the dinner rush. Not forced, not for show, just pure gratitude, for the heat, the noise, the team. We were back on the line, not behind someone else's vision, not bending under someone else's rules. This was ours. Every plate told a piece of our story. Every customer became part of it. Later that night, after cleanup, I stood in the doorway watching the lights dim. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. But it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. The weeks blurred into each other. Full tables, long nights, and the kind of tired that you earn with your heart, not just your hands. We weren't getting rich, but we were feeding people, and more than that, we were feeding ourselves in ways we hadn't in years. The Fire Line became something different. Not just a restaurant, but a rhythm. A place where people felt seen. Our regulars didn't just order food. They asked about May's sister's graduation, or Louis's mom's mole recipe, or whether Eli was finally going to ask out that barista next door. People always asked, "So who's the boss?" And I'd smile every time. "No bosses," I'd say, "just people who give a damn." We made decisions together. We split the earnings evenly. If someone had a new recipe idea, it went on the board. If someone needed a break, someone else stepped up. There were arguments sometimes, of course there were, but they were ours to have. No one looming over us. No fear of being erased overnight. One evening after the dinner rush, I stayed late to prep for the weekend. The kitchen was quiet, just the soft scrape of my knife and the scent of cumin and roasted onion in the air. That's when I saw Paul walk in. He looked older, worn. He stood awkwardly, like a man who didn't know how to be anywhere that wasn't in control. "I've been hearing about this place," he said. "I didn't stop chopping, yeah." He nodded. "Place is packed every weekend. Got your old customers, some of mine too." I said nothing. He cleared his throat. "You know we're reopening a second location if you ever want to talk." I looked up, calm, steady. "I'm good." He waited, maybe for an apology, maybe for a thank you. But all I gave him was the silence he deserved. He left. I turned back to my cutting board, wiped my hands, and smiled. Because I wasn't just cooking anymore. I was home with the people who chose me and the fire that kept us going. And for the first time in my life, I knew. They could fire me, but they'd never take this.